Hi sexy, come and watch till the end. A beach girl sings and plays on the sand. Her companion, Eileen, keeps interrupting their serenity and pleasure. Eileen screams in anguish as soldiers fire their rifles. Pain. Eileen wakes up and realizes it was all a dream. She discovers that sitting on a chair in a room with no doors or windows and just sharp tiles on the walls from start to finish. She is not sure where she is or how to get there, so she is bewildered. She arrived, and to make matters worse, she hardly remembers her prior life. A voice. The administrator urges her over a speaker to move first. The pencil on time. Eileen sees a pencil-top table. Since no one answers her queries, she gets up and slowly drags herself across the floor to throw away the pencil. Eileen asks again whether the task is done, but a buzzer interrupts her. The administrator awakens Eileen after another beach dream to change the pencil again. Eileen is tied to the chair this time. Bound hands. The administrator informs her daughter will die if she does not accomplish the work, making her feel powerless and panicked. Eileen recalls her daughter after that statement on the beach. Her daughter is Eve. Eileen wants to know what is happening with her daughter. But the administrator would not listen to her. I have to do the task. She cannot use her lips to untie her hands. She removes her shoes and laces them. Throwing objects off the table pushes the pencil off. Eileen is slapped again when the buzzer sounds again. She finally sees the dream and relaxes on a beach as Eve sings and plays on the sand. Dirty sand, she says. Eileen sings with her companion while she lies on the ground. Dreaming about sleeping, she wakes up sleeping on the floor. Her dream. She gets a horrible headache, her limbs and legs are free, and a bizarre dish is waiting for her at the table. Since she has no employment, she looks around the room but does not discover a hole. The floor-bolted chair cannot shatter either. Finally, Eileen is first cautious of the table meal. She finds it bad when she tries it. It is delicious and gone in seconds. She can see hers without the plate. She is unhappy because she appears unhealthy in the tray. Eileen returns to the chair and curls up because she feels overwhelmed. She also has a mysterious skull scar, and she loses it since it feels like a surgical scar. As usual, she wants to depart. Eileen falls asleep crying and dreams about Eve on the beach before the administrator wakes her up. She swears at the speaker and demands confirmation that Eve is alive or she will quit playing. Eve is afraid and wants her mother. She can speak. Eileen is ordered to resume her work after a few seconds. Eileen is scared quickly because there is a piece of shattered glass between her and the table. Despite pushing, the chair is still attached to the floor. Eileen utilizes herself. However, throwing herself against the wall hurts her, and Eileen hits the panel to call for aid. Pencil movement. The pencil slips off the table spontaneously. The buzzer rings again before she can understand. Eileen suffers a gushing scalp cut in another beach start. A man's voice interrupts Eve's sandcastle building with her mother. He calls Eileen while touching her shoulder. Eileen wakes up again chained to the chair with a genuine scalp cut and a guy who knows her name on the floor. Eileen is afraid of him and pushes him away. Her assailants, but he immediately reveals himself. I heard that her husband Roger's name helped her recall him, even if just briefly on the beach. Roger and Eileen both state they do not recall how they got here. Eileen also informed him about the tests and their daughter. Roger freaks out too, but the administrator says the pencil must be broken, stopping their battle. Another task begins. Like Eileen, Roger's appeals and queries are ignored, so the pair debates again over what to do. Roger is free to grasp the pencil. An alarm scolds him. Since only Eileen can complete the job, he must pay her. Roger yells at Eileen instead of helping her think because he does not care. When Eileen shouts at him to stop, the pencil drifts away and breaks. Roger is surprised and finds Eileen's ears bleeding before the ambulance comes. Noise lulls her. Roger's beach fantasy has Eve and Roger singing. Eileen wakes up to food and her husband still searching. To fill up space, Eileen tells him he is wasting his time and wants to participate in the test to protect Eve, but Roger does not trust the testers. Keeping promises, he also points out that Eileen is strong, but she still feels it is a trap. He uses the home breaking when they fought to establish his case. Eileen remembered their beach fight. Roger is calmer and more tolerant now that Eileen knows they have always fought. Help prevent conflicts. She sleeps on the floor after drinking water. Roger attempted to chat about Eve or eat, but they merely slept. Each dream realized. Eve asks why her mother is exhausted and lying on the ground. Moving away. Eileen swears she will not go until Eve's game begins, but when the child asks about her dad, she rushes away, leaving Eileen to yell her daughter's name. Roger calms her when she wakes up bound to the chair. Down. Roger notices Eileen's head is awry, beneath her scar. Before discussing what this implies, they must place a ball in a bucket. Eileen complains again, but Roger advises her to utilize her abilities. Eileen. She thinks it is stupid, but even if she had talents, she could not apply them. Roger suggests she work on the screws holding the table to the floor. His assistance and concentration help Eileen achieve her goals. Control of her talents and remove each screw so Roger could pull the table closer. Putting the ball in the bucket is now simple, even if her ears bleed again. Later, Roger apologizes for being domineering and self-centered, blaming stress. After accepting Roger's apologies, Eileen thinks about him as he laughed about the food goo on the table. Same with Eve. They brought Eve to the beach for her birthday since she liked it. Roger stayed there the most. Sleeping instead of playing with his kid, Eileen avoids fights. Roger believes everything they put in her brain if you tell them this final fact. Block everything. After that, they obeyed. Prevent issues. Eileen's jobs grow tougher, but she works hard, practices, and has Roger's support. She never gets ill, and the food goo keeps them occupied. Sometimes enters the room, next job is hectic again. Gun assembly. Roger reads her the instructions. But he is frightened about what it implies and cannot stop talking, which distracts Eileen. Roger refuses her peace requests. Eileen snaps and labels him a control freak after he tells her she is wrong 10 times. Freak. Another battle reminds Eileen of their beach brawl, and makes Roger believe she caused his drinking. He immediately recognizes his words, leaves his lips and apologizes, but Eileen refuses since this has occurred to her many times. He would get upset, insult her, and pledge to stop, but he continued doing it. Never maintained. Eileen snaps and discharges the rifle after assembling it. She barely stopped the bullet before it struck her husband because he continued cursing at her. Save Eve. Eileen always falls asleep and goes to the beach when the buzzer rings. Dream. Eve is halfway done with her construction, but she fears leaving will never complete. Roger wrecks her success when he gets near. He claims. Despite his claims, Eileen does not believe him. When Eileen wakes up without speaking or moving, she sits and looks. Roger touches her and she jumps, saying she is chilly. She receives Roger's coat. He offers her his jacket, and she finally eats. Roger plans to cheer her up. Eileen inquired about their pleasant activities with Eve when they reunited. Because she cannot recall their relationship, Eileen trained Roger, who resigned his rock band and physics teaching position, to work. Eve arrived. These tales make Eileen laugh again. Both apologize for their fights. Eileen warms her drink by assuming she wants something heated when she takes a sip, demonstrating her inexperience. She places her head on Roger's lap and apologizes, although she does not know why. Before falling asleep, her family is not at the beach. The sand seems weird in my dream this time. Eileen discovers Eve's shoe and Roger's ring finger while digging, but before she can figure it out, she retreats as sand covers her. She awakens then. She discovers her next duty is much scarier, saving Roger from a booth, filling with sand. Eileen's talents should make this simple, but she cannot concentrate on her dread and the bizarre beach images in her thoughts. Mind, but they worry her. Eileen's chair unscrewing talons and fists on the glass achieve nothing. Therefore she must mourn while her spouse dies on the sand. Eileen cannot weep or break down since the administrator will arrive shortly. Replaying her failure drove Eileen crazy and broke the speaker. A door opens as more beach memories show her screaming there. The door opens and soldiers whisk her away. However, Eileen will no longer work with you. She is ready to battle. Locate her daughter. Eileen murders all guards. Kill them swiftly or slowly. After leaving the room, she discovers a sign indicating 298 tests and the final one in process. Computer scientists are gone, but there are more forces. Keep coming and fire immediately. Eileen is an expert, so their bullets do nothing. She stops every shot before it kills a warrior without mercy. She turns on the elevator with a soldier's sight and lands on test 297. Eileen uses the elevator again to reach to test 296, which was also completed. In amazement, she sees 3 weird blue doors and Roger, who says they're all like me. If Eileen. Eileen asks Roger what he means, and Roger gestures to the spares door, which has hundreds of body bags with Roger clones waiting for the next experiment. Roger departs as Eileen checks the supplies and materials doors, labeled S and M, for all their work supplies. Eileen kills additional troops as they arrive. She removes their masks, indicate that they are clones with the same visage, something the soldiers did not know. Eileen crosses the elevator doors again and enters an empty room. One light illuminates over Eileen. Administrators control this light. She is done testing. Eileen wants her daughter back, but the administrator says she cannot since Eve is gone. Eileen refuses to believe, so the administrator disables the memory filter. Eileen discovers the beach incident. Eve played with her parents all day, but Roger slept and Eileen discovered him before they left. It had alcohol. Roger struck Eileen after a fight, releasing her abilities. Eileen's out-of-control scream murdered her husband and daughter. Eileen heard. The room's sound was computer-generated, and the administrator wants to send Eileen to retraining to clear her head. Eileen resists retraining since Eve's only chance is her memories and hopes. She offers Eve anything she desires in exchange for her life. To retest. The administrator agrees, and Eileen falls asleep as she envisions herself on the beach with Eve. The building simply tests and fixes, singing her favorite tune. She wakes up in the exam room shortly after. I repeated the pencil moving job since I could not recall anything. The end. See you later, sexy.